Welcome to our video tonight. This is going to be about introducing what an essay is. Many of you have written essays and so have a basic understanding. We just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. So by the end of this video, you will know the difference between the three main types of essays, as well as what the different parts of an essay are. So, let's go ahead and look. Just as a reminder, as you go throughout the video, that you will need to stop and take notes every time you see the pencil. If you're looking at the screen and there is no pencil but there is writing on the screen, that means that you don't need to write it down. But if there is a pencil, then you need to write it down. Follow your guided notes. Remember, you should be using the guided notes and not regular binder paper. Use the rule of 5, so you're writing down the ideas in your own words using 5 words or less. If it's a few more than 5, that's not a huge deal, but you really want to get it done on your own words. And then don't forget that you can pause when you need to, and as often as you need to, and rewind if you need to. All right. So we want to talk about what an essay is. If you go back to the history of the word essay roughly means to argue or to talk. And so when you're writing an essay, you are putting your thoughts down on paper in an organized fashion. And all essays are going to follow a specific pattern: the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. And your main goal with any essay is going to be to communicate an idea, make an argument, tell a purposeful story, that by the end of your essay, somebody has a full understanding of a particular idea that you are discussing. All of the ideas in your essay should be about that main point that you want your reader to understand. All right, now for some notes. So this is what we're going to use as our basic definition of an essay. It's a series of paragraphs that are all on one main topic. There's an introduction, multiple body paragraphs, as well as a concluding paragraph. That should sound a little bit like what a paragraph, an individual paragraph, is made up of, and there's a good reason for that. Having an introduction, a body, and a conclusion really helps your reader follow what you're saying. Okay, there are many types of essays, and we're going to talk about three in particular. The first one we're going to look at is the idea of a persuasive essay. This is the idea of persuasion should not be new to you. You're doing it all the time with your parents, your friends, even your teachers. But the definition of a persuasive essay, or the purpose, is that you're trying to convince your reader of a point of view using logical reasons that support your position. So you want them to agree with you. That's something to keep in mind when you're thinking persuasive essay. You want your reader to say, yes, you're right. So here's some examples of topics that might show up on a persuasive essay. Why is Xbox better than PS3? Facebook should be allowed in schools, or why time between classes should be longer. Notice that all three of these things have that idea that they want one thing to be better than the other, or that the reader should agree with you as the writer when they're done reading. Another type of essay is the explanatory essay. Now, we've been writing explanatory paragraphs. We're explaining on our ideas, just like this dog here is explaining to the owl what it's supposed to say. So our definition is that this type of essay is all about explaining or describing something. You're not so much concerned with whether or not the reader agrees with you. It's more like, does the reader understand what you have to say? And then they can make their own decision completely on their own, and you really don't care whether they agree or disagree. But as long as they understand, that is your main goal. Here's some examples. You could write an essay about how to succeed in school, or how to use Minecraft to impress people, or how students spend their time after school. Notice that none of these topics necessarily lend themselves to saying this is the only way to do it. It's just, how do people do these things? And not you should do this or you should do that. Finally, the third type of essay that we're going to look at is the narrative essay. The narrative essay, as the picture shows you, is that you're telling a story to somebody. And so a narrative essay uses a single well-told story, it's usually a true story, as a way to share an opinion or a truth about life. For example, you might write an essay about the time that I learned not to tease my brother so much. That would be a narrative essay. You can tell that there's going to be some sort of life lesson learned in that experience. Okay, so those are the three types of essays: narrative, explanatory, and persuasive. During your 7th grade year, you will do a lot with explanatory and narrative essays, and you'll do more with persuasive essays when you're in 8th grade. Okay, so yeah, these different types of essays exist, but I bet you're wondering, what exactly do you include in an essay, especially since you're going to have to write them? What is it supposed to end up looking like? Well, let's take a look. Essay is going to have 3 main parts: the intro, the body, and even though it's upside down, it says conclusion. Let's take a look at each of these individually. The introduction is that first paragraph of the essay. Its job is extremely important because without a good introduction, you're not going to catch your reader's attention. And so that's one of the jobs of the introduction, is to catch the reader's attention. You also want to introduce the general topic, but without any of the specific details that's going to show up later in the body of the essay. You're also going to state the thesis, and this will be the last thing of the introduction. We'll talk more about thesis later, but basically it's the main idea of the essay. It's what you want somebody to understand or believe by the time they are done reading your essay. Notice that there's no specific details yet because you're just introducing it, and that's what an introduction is all about. Next, we have our body paragraphs. Usually you're going to be looking at between 2 and 3, in some cases 4 body paragraphs, depending on how much information you have to say about that main thesis. Each point will be in its own paragraph, and you won't mix them in one paragraph. They'll have their each separate paragraph. So our definition that I want you to write down here, there's the pencil, that each body paragraph should be about a different idea that supports or explains the thesis. If it does not connect to that thesis, it should not be in the essay. Just a quick review about what a body paragraph will have. You'll have a topic sentence, you'll have big ideas and say-mores, and you, in some cases, will even have a concluding sentence. Well, that's a little bit more flexible in an essay, because the purpose of a concluding sentence is to kind of end your writing. But the body is not the end of the essay, so you don't want too strong of a concluding sentence. But this should sound familiar. Just like we were talking about with our paragraph unit, these paragraphs still need to have that structure. You still have to have a topic sentence and big ideas and say-mores, and then a little hint at a concluding sentence. Finally, once you have your body paragraphs that have really given the meat, the explanations for what you're trying to say, then it's time to wrap it up. And there's your concluding paragraph, or your conclusion. This paragraph will restate the thesis, that main idea that was at the end of the introduction. You'll review the body paragraphs, the main ideas of each of those, and then you'll have that final so what, which should really make the essay feel finished. And while the reader may still be thinking about it, they're going to have a sense of satisfaction as that was the end, and I understand. Okay, so there's a quick review of what an essay looks like. Again, intro, body, and conclusion. Each of those circles represents a separate paragraph, so you're looking at usually at least 4 paragraphs in an essay. All right, you've finished watching the video, and hopefully you have all your guided notes finished. Your last steps are these. Unlike we've done in the past, I'm going to ask you to write your summary on your notes. Tomorrow in class, you'll have a chance to actually submit your summary, but I want you to have it written down now, as well as your hot question. Then make sure that your notes are completely filled in, that you have everything down, and then submit it to Scooge. Remember, if you did this on paper, a paper copy of the guided notes, take a really good picture. Make sure it's clear, make sure it's readable, make sure you've taken it directly above the piece of paper. You've brought it into Notability, you stretch it out, make sure it fills the whole page, crop it if you need to so there's no extra, and then submit it to Schoology. All right, once you're done, then make sure you have your notes with you in class tomorrow.